On Sunday, February 25th, 2024, I presented at the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show on lessons learned in the Canadian wilderness. Unfortunately, I didn't hit record at the beginning of the presentation, so I missed the first two slides, so I'm going to narrate them and then work my way back into the actual presentation from the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Welcome to my presentation at the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show on lessons learned in the Canadian wilderness. In 2023, I went on some challenging solo adventures and I learned a lot of important lessons, both good and bad. Well, today I'd like to share some of those lessons with you so they may assist you in avoiding or enjoying what I've discovered. Welcome to my presentation. Can I start over? Do you guys care? Okay. So where am I? My name is Christina. I'm also known as CamperChristina. And in 2002, I went on my very first backcountry canoe trip, and I fell in love. I really loved being out there, and in 2015, because I didn't have anybody to go with me, I started going out by myself. And now that is mostly what I do. I mostly go out on solo trips, and I absolutely love it. I'm going on harder trips, they're longer, and they have a lot more portages, more challenging. So in May, I went on a 6-day trip in Temagami, and I learned a lot of very important lessons on this trip. So I'm going to talk a bit about that. It was a 6-day trip. There were around 14-ish portages and 10 kilometers of portages. Now I double carry, so that means every portage I walk 3 times. So I walked 30 kilometers and I paddled around 55 kilometers. So here's the route that I did, that I'm going to be talking about parts of today. And accessed Gamble Lake, went through into smooth water, and then down the South Lady Evelyn River. Now this is the area that's in question because at this time of year is really in May. 2 to 3 weeks after ice out is the only time you can really go on this trip, because otherwise the water levels get too low, and then you'll be doing a portaging trip instead of a paddling trip, which I kind of like too, but it's a lot of portaging. So the first portage on the trip is a 4-kilometer portage, which is why I haven't done this trip until now. Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't want, it's overwhelming, right? I mean, you think 4-kilometer portage, oh my God, right? That's a lot. So what I do is I compartmentalize things, and I do this a lot in my life. I break things down into smaller sections so that it's not so overwhelming, right? Well, I can do a 1K. Okay, I can do another 1K. Okay, oh, maybe, okay. So that's how I put it in my brain so that I could kind of deal with it and not get freaked out by doing it. Don't take the easier looking way. So I do about 1 kilometer of this 4-kilometer portage, and I'm going along, and all of a sudden I come up to some water. And I'm like, well, I got to put my stuff in the canoe, and I got to paddle over to the next part of the portage. Why don't I just paddle? I mean, obviously there's water here, maybe all of the maps that I have are wrong, and, you know, I'm smarter than everyone else, right? Here I am, I'm in the boat, I'm the smartest person in the world, and then this happened, and the water just went, and it was gone. And then I was in this little tiny waterway. I could barely pull the canoe through it. It wasn't even as wide as the canoe. It's all boggy and swampy. So then I was like, okay, I guess I have to get back on the portage. So I checked my GPS. I'm like, well, it's over there somewhere. In reality, I should have went there. But what I actually did was kind of something like this. Through the bushes, in the trees, branches in my hair, all the things. But eventually I made it back onto the portage, and here I am. Very, very happy with myself. Lesson learned, just stay on the trail. That little trickle of water, it never goes anywhere. You're not the smartest person in the world. You're not the first person to go through there. There's a portage for a reason, so just stay on it. I ended up wasting about 1.5 hours of time. I made it 500 meters, which would have taken me a half an hour to portage double carrying. So, but the worst thing was I was just exhausted because I had to bushwhack and go through all these, you know, it wasn't good. Always double check your gear before a trip, even your shoes. So I had 3 pairs of Keens with me. I'm a Keen ambassador of sorts, and I love my Keens. I was wearing my dry suit on this trip, and I don't usually wear my dry suit. Dry suit has footies.
Would Isha and Avia please come to the show office at the front of the lobby?
Okay. Always double check your gear. So I brought about 3 pairs of Keens with me, and I had my dry suit, little footies on them, and I got socks on. So I didn't want to wear my new ones. I don't want to stretch them out, right? So I thought, well, I'll wear my good old Newports. Didn't check them. I get out on the trail. I'm around where this little disaster happened, and I'm walking, and I'm feeling like I'm kind of wearing snowshoes. Like my shoes are flopping around. I look down, and I'm like, oh dear, they're kind of a little bit broken. Both of the shoes were like this. So always check your gear. Very important. Bring a spare. A lot of people will bring Crocs or flip-flops. I always bring a sturdy pair of camp shoes because you never know if something happens to your other shoes. You might need them. So I was lucky to have those, put those on, and off I was on my way. When I got to camp, bring a needle and thread. I've been carrying a needle and thread around with me for about 20 years. Never used it. This trip, I got to use it. I also discovered that I'm not a great sewer. Yes, I have made 3 homemade hot tents, but that's with a sewing machine. I'm not good with the hand sewing. So I also was happy that I had a well-stocked repair kit because I had a bunch of pieces of rope and I tied them in there. And this is ultimately what saved me and kept my shoes on for the rest of the trip. Plan extra time, just in case you need to sleep on the portage. That's 4 kilometers. This is part of my compartmentalizing. I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to have an extra day on the trip. I don't really want to use it the first day, but whatever. I walked about 3 kilometers, well, 9 kilometers technically, and I was getting really tired. It was starting to get stumbly, and you don't want to keep going when that happens because you can hurt yourself, especially when you're out by yourself. So I decided to camp on the portage. I found a nice little spot where my tent could just fit perfectly. People could still get by if they came, which no one did. I don't know why anyone didn't want to be on this portage, but a nice little campsite. And then the next day, I was going straight uphill for quite a while, about 800 meters. So I was really, really glad that I did stop because that next day, my legs were still aching. And I was still like, oh my gosh. If I wouldn't have stopped that day, I would have probably had an accident or hurt myself. So always good to do that. So when going down or up steep portages, use the rocks or just like climbing nubs. A lot of times, especially in the summer, these mulchy areas, the pine needles, they get really dry. And when you're walking, especially up and down hills, you can just slide and fall right on your butt. So what I try to do is I find those embedded rocks or tree roots, stumps, whatever, and kind of use them to get my footing. So that I don't fall on my butt. When a portage looks challenging, it usually is. I took the canoe first on this one. As I was making my way towards Smoothwater Lake, I discovered this lovely 1,100 meter portage. I don't know if any of you have seen my waterfalls trip, but it was kind of like a combination of Fat Man's Falls, Bridalveil Falls, and Cabin Falls all in one. Kind of like this. Pretty bouldery. And when I got to that section with the canoe, I just put it down, I got my pack, and then went through with the pack. Take your time, compartmentalize so you don't get overwhelmed. It's a really steep section, covered in moss, water, the rocks are slippery. It's very easy to wipe out. I actually did once. And it was a fun portage, but just take your time if you get these things, and always look down. Don't try to go, oh wow, I have to do that. Just look here, I'm gonna go over this rock, I'm gonna go over this rock, I'm gonna go over this rock, and then you get there eventually. And I made it to the end. Ta-da! I was so happy. And the rewards are always worth the struggle. So I ended up having this beautiful campsite on Smoothwater Lake, and I had this gorgeous sunset, probably one of the most beautiful sunsets I've had all year. And it was great. It was totally worth getting through that 4 kilometer and all that. To get on to the next part of the route, which was my next challenge. Always do your research or you might end up in shallow water. I knew I was going to be in shallow water at this segment. This part of the South Lady Evelyn, according to Hap Wilson and his guidebook of Temagami, you can only do this area, you should only do this area within about 2 or 3 weeks of ice out, because the water levels are higher. I'm not sure if that's going to work this year because it's been a pretty dry winter. But I went through the shallow water, and I was glad that I did that because I would have ended up having to portage through all this. The water is really shallow here, as you can see. It's really overgrown, and I did have to get in and out of the canoe a bunch of times to kind of drag it through. And it matters when you go, right? I mean, if I would have done this trip in August, I might have been portaging this whole section. It's probably about 14 kilometers, so you times that by 3, it's a bit of a trek, right? Any obstacles can be overcome if you set your mind to it or scratch the out of your canoe. Sorry, Jeff. I came up to this obstacle. I guess it was a beaver dam, but it's not like anything I've ever seen. It was all these dry, sorry for the bad pictures. I saw it and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I'm just about at camp and I'm like, look at this thing. It's about 2.5 feet high, and there's 3 feet of like water underneath running, and there's just all these dead sticks and branches and dried out. And I'm like, how am I going to get over this? So I kind of tried to step out of the canoe and maybe 4 or 5 different spots, and then I finally found a spot where I was like, okay, this is going to hold me. And I got up on there, and I had to pull my canoe and all of my gear up over this thing, and then I'm there on top of it. And I actually had to, here we go, kind of climb up on the top of the canoe. I'm actually sitting on my backpack here in the back of the canoe, and then I kind of had to climb down there, get into the seat, and then do a little hump-a-lump, right? And then I got myself into the water, and I was on my way. So sooner or later, you will get through it. If you keep persevering and you keep going, you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you will get through eventually. There is nowhere like the remote wilderness. I don't know how many of you trip or backcountry camp, but if you are not experienced enough to go out into these remote places, go with someone, go with a guide. Just get out there, because these places aren't going to be here forever, unfortunately. They're disappearing every day, and breaks my heart. But if you get a chance to get into these places, get out there. There's nothing like it to be out in these places that look like no one has ever been there before you. It's just priceless. Catching trout is all about the lake or the waterway you're fishing at. My friend Ben Beauchamp knows about that, don't you, Ben?
Oh, yeah.
I am not a fisher person. If you are, you probably know this. I didn't. I've been trying to catch a brook trout for years. I had the right lure. I knew that like I was supposed to, let the line drop until it hits the bottom and then just roll up and jig. And I'm out there in all these lakes doing this, and there's no trout. There wasn't even trout in the lake. So I was on the Lady Evelyn River. I'm at my next campsite, and I knew this was the spot. I threw in my line. Boom. Look at this beautiful trout. I'm sorry if I'm grossing anybody out who doesn't like fish, but there's pink polka dots, like your paddle. Pink polka dots on this fish. It was amazing. I was so excited. It was a big fish too. And then I learned how to clean a trout because I'd never done that before. So I actually took a YouTube video. I took screenshots because there's no signal or no service out here. And I looked at my phone, okay, what do I got to do here? So first of all, I just want to mention, yes, I am cleaning this trout at my campsite. I don't recommend that ever. If you've ever been on the Lady Evelyn River, there's a lot of it's all swampy, and you can't really, there's no place to just, I'm just going to go stop and pee here. No, you're not. There's nowhere to get on, there's nowhere to land your canoe and stuff like that. So I did it down in the water to be safest, to keep the bears away and stuff like that. Cut a slit from the bum to the throat, cut across the gills, grab the jaw, pull it up. I cut the slit from the bum to the top, and all the guts just fell out. So it was great. I cleaned it out, put some seasoning on it, slapped that sucker on the fire, and then I learned my next lesson. How to eat a trout so you don't get a mouthful of bones, right? You guys know how to do this? I didn't know. I never cooked a fish like this. I always fillet my fish. So it was really cool. I took my fork, or I guess my spork, put it along the spine there and kind of wiggled it. I had it cooked just right, and the meat just came right off. It was delicious. It's always worth it to try, because if you succeed, the rewards are priceless. I avoided doing this trip for 3 years because I was terrified of that 4K and that shallow water, and I went and I did it. And you haven't seen this, but there was a moose on this trip. I caught my first brookie. I got to eat it. I had the beautiful sunset, just scenery. Don't see people for days. Totally worth it. So if you're thinking about doing something and you're a little scared, you're overwhelmed, just go out and do it, because you never know. If you get it done, the feeling is just amazing when you complete something like this. So next trip I'm going to talk about where I learned some lessons is the August trip that I did, 6-day trip as well, 17-ish portages, only 5 kilometers in portages and 18 kilometers walked. I know you're thinking now it should be 15, but I had to walk from the access where I took out to my car down a logging road, so that added a little bit. 60 kilometers of paddling. Really great trip. Here's the route. And I had done, whoa, slow down, buddy. I had done most of the section before. I had done parts between Banks and Gamble, and I had done between Gamble and McPherson. But the area of concern was between McPherson and Banks. Again, very shallow water, and here I am in August, right? And I'm going through here, and I'm like, I'm gonna get stuck. I'm gonna get stuck in a bunch of sucky muck, not gonna be able to get out, right? I'm all paranoid, but I'm going for it. So off I go, and I get to McPherson Lake, and I see this moose, right? I leave the portage, I see the moose. Stumps don't move, okay? I learned this lesson a few years ago. If you watched any of my stuff from years past, you'll know I spent hours and hours taking pictures and videos of moose that aren't really moose, they're tree stumps. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I do this a lot. Something I learned, tree stumps don't move, moose do. Sometimes deer, you know, they'll stand there and stare at you if they catch your eye, but most animals move. So if you look across and you see something and you're like, oh, that might be a moose, but you don't see any ripples in the water, there's no movement, it's not an animal, it's a tree stump. So I see this moose and I'm all excited and I'm paddling. Now you can tell I'm far away here. I'm using my iPhone. I've got it on super zoom. You can't barely see anything in this moose, right? I'm pretty far away. I've got my tripod selfie stick set up and I'm paddling, and all of a sudden this moose looks over and he starts going, and I'm like, what is going on? Never had a moose do this. Then he starts charging at me, right? I'm far away. I'm like way over there by that van. I'm like far away. And he's charging, and I'm like, what is going on? Why is this moose doing this, right? I've never had this happen. Well, I look over, and in the bay is the calf. So she's protecting her baby, and I thought for a minute, what's going on here? Of course, I didn't get any footage of because I'm paddling away, right? Like my camera's going with me, and I'm like, I don't care, because I don't want to distress the moose, right? You never want to freak out animals when you're in nature, right? You're there to enjoy it and see them, but don't stress them out. So I didn't get the footage of the charging, but I think I did a pretty good reenactment of that. The hard parts are never the ones that you think they will be. So here I am in the shallow water, and I'm paddling, and everything's great. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm almost at the portage. I'm making it through. I'm not stuck. This was the hard part. I didn't even think about it. A couple years ago, I went through this area. I did a trip called the Macobee Lake Loop, forest fire burn area. If you like a good challenge, portages are really fun. All the trees are down. There's all kinds of debris, carnage everywhere. You can't find the trail. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it, but I like that kind of stuff. But I didn't even think about it. And when I got there, I was like, okay, you know, I can spend an hour and a half on a 100-meter portage. Why not, right? A forest fire can swallow up an entire campsite. So after I did all the shallow water and I did all the forest fire burn portages, I'm paddling along and I see the campsite. There's an orange sign on it. I don't know if you've been to any remote places in Temagami, but there's not a lot of signs out there. You get to a campsite, you're like, oh, I think this is it. Okay, let's camp here. So I see this orange sign. I'm so excited. I'm exhausted. It's 3:30. I'm ready to set up camp. I get out. I start walking around. I'm on this campsite for like 45 minutes. I could not find one place to put my tent. Not one little flat spot, because the blueberry bushes are up here because I'm in a forest fire burn area, right? They're getting all the nutrients and the sun, and there's nowhere to put my tent. So now I'm like, what am I going to do, right? So I looked over across the lake and I saw a nice big opening, and I said, I think that looks like a beach. I think I might be able to put my tent there. So I went over, and just enough room to put my tent. So So I was happy I had a place to sleep and had some food, got some rest. And then the next day I headed off along my route. And 10 minutes past that campsite, there's an orange sign. And guess what's there? A campsite. A nice campsite, looked like. I have 3 maps with me. There's not one map that says that there's a campsite there. So you never know. Sometimes things are where you're not looking. I would have really liked to stay on this campsite, but too late. Portages are rarely what they say they are. So the next day I'm paddling through. All I got to do is this 1K portage to get into Banks. And I'm like, yeah, I'm laughing. I'm going to go through. I'm not even having breakfast today. I'm going to have breakfast when I get to camp. It's going to be great. Look at this portage. Nothing. There's nothing, right? It looks like a nice flat portage. Forgot about the forest fire area. So this is part of the portage. It's another part of the portage. These aren't different angles of the same spot. They're like all different sections. The down trees are here. I'm walking along with my canoe. I'm like trying to get over these. I got like char marks all in my pants from like, you know, this is all burnt up. There's another one. And yeah, it was a good time. But you never know, right? When you're going to these places, you just never know what you're going to find. Always plan extra time because you might get a surprise. Wild blueberries are amazing and abundant in forest fire areas. I was just over the moon walking through this portage. I dropped off my canoe, I got over all the trees and everything, and I'm walking back and I'm just like this. You don't even have to bend over. It's just like this. And I've got 15, 20 blueberries and they're like the size of grapes. They're so delicious. This taught me 2 very important lessons. One, I can never go to the grocery store and buy blueberries again. They taste like cardboard. I tried. I went about 2 weeks after this trip and I was like, oh, blueberries. No. The second important lesson I learned, taste yourself. I don't know if you know, I have colitis. Blueberries are very fibrous. You probably see all the nice bear scat piles of blueberries that look like somebody mushed them up. They go right through you. So make sure you're prepared for that, just in case. Thankfully, I was. If your vessel or gear is suddenly covered in wasps, this is something actually I learned by making this presentation. I got to the end of the portage, I put the canoe down, I walked like what did it take me, 40 minutes to get back, got my pack, walked all the way back. I get to my canoe, it's covered in wasps. I'm like, what the hell is going on here, right? Can I say hell? That's okay. Anyways, sorry, Lila. So I look, and you can't see them too good, but there's wasps everywhere. And I thought, oh, you know, I got my Paddle Canada bag. It's probably they're attracted to the bright colors. But when I was researching for this presentation, I found out that fire ants, wasps, and bumblebees make nests in the ground. So if I would have just moved the canoe over, you knew that, eh? Yeah. If I just moved the canoe over 5 or 6 feet, I wouldn't have had that problem. So, little tidbit there. Group of loons is called an asylum, also known as a cry, lookers, raft, and a water dance. Most recently, I've seen this happen a lot more often lately. The first time I saw it, I was on Obabaca Lake, and Native Elder Alex Mathias told me that he's seen up to 54 loons on a lake gathered, which is weird because loons like to mate, and it's usually like a male and a female, and they're on a lake, and that's their lake. So I'm like, what is going on here? So Alex told me that it's possibly the trout at the bottom of the lake. There's another tip if you're looking for trout. You see the loons, there might be some trout there. They're stirring up the herring, and then the loons are coming to feed off of them. Now there's a couple of other ideas. You know, we don't really know. We can't talk to the loons very much, but they could be getting ready to head south for the fall migration. This trip was in August, so probably wasn't that. And sometimes they just like to gather for social gatherings. So that was pretty cool. I really love loons, so I really thought this was fun. There was 19 there, by the way, on Banks Lake. And then I saw about 12 of them on another lake heading out the next day. So really cool. Thoroughly check the privy before seating yourself. It's a no-brainer, right? I didn't. I got up, I was like, oh, hey, guy, thanks for not crawling, you know, there. Always carry a plastic bag in your backpack. I know plastic's bad for the environment, but I actually just did this last weekend again. This is from last year. I was at Mule Lake winter camping, and we went to do the Lookout Trail. Lookout Trail, obviously you're walking up to see the lookout, and then the whole rest of the way back, you're going downhill. So we're walking, and the trail gets pretty packed down. You know, the sun melts it, and then it freezes it, gets slippery. Why would you walk down that? I reached into my backpack, I grabbed my pack, right? I'm like, I got a Ziploc bag in here. We ripped them open, we slid down the whole trail. It was the best fun I'd ever had on a hiking trail. It was a good time. And we did this year, actually last weekend. There was a group of, I want to say kids, because I'm a bit older, but depending on how old you are, I guess that. Anyways, they were about 20, mid-20s, and there was a girl there from Scotland. And they're like, what are you guys doing? So we're like, here. We gave them our bags, and they slid down, and they had a hoot. It's always great to be 5 again. I mean, it's just so much fun. Always grab your camera when you head out to pee. Caught this shot of the moon at 6 a.m. doing just that. I didn't know about this. Paracord, survival cord. I used to get rope, right? So you gotta hang up your tarps, your bug shelter. You always bring in rope with you. I just used to buy rope from like the Dollarama. I'm a cheapie, right? Why do I need to spend money on rope? And then somebody told me about this paracord. Some of you probably know. Yeah, see, Peter knows. Some of you know this. I didn't know this. I posted it on my page, and a bunch of people were like, oh, I never knew that. This paracord has like all this stuff in it. It's got all these strands. It's got dynamite fishing line. There's wax line. You can start fire. You can sew with it. So if you do end up in a survival situation, why just bring regular rope when you can have this, and this might help you get out of something or do something. So I started using that this year, and I just love it. Don't sleep on the ground, any part of you. I couldn't hang my hammock up here on this campsite. There wasn't enough support. I just barely got the bug shelter up, and I got there early. I was tired. I thought, oh, I'll get my thermarest. I'll lay down, have a nice nap in the bug shelter. My arms were off the thermarest, and I got home. This is 2 days later. 2 days just covered in these welts and lumps and stuff. Maybe I met those fire ants. I don't know. They were mad at me for being on their nest earlier. But yeah, always bring antihistamines with you or allergy medication. I was feeling itchy. I felt the bumps, but I didn't know how bad it was till I got home, and I was like, oh, that's not so good. If the sun is shining while it's raining, you might see a rainbow. Last day of my trip in Temagami, I'm sitting there, it's raining. I'm on an island campsite, and I said to myself in my video, oh man, this would be a great spot for a rainbow, you know, and then the sun came out, I went out, boom, there it was. This beautiful rainbow I've ever seen. It was absolutely stunning, and just never know what you might see when you're looking or when you're out there. Just always be aware, because there's always cool things going on in nature. I want to take a moment to thank you very much for checking out my presentation today. I appreciate you coming. Thank you. I have some great prizes to give away. Ben, do you want to come help me? You don't know any of my followers. Denny usually comes and helps me, but I think he's with a customer over there. So, Ben Beauchamp, everyone. He presented yesterday. Big up and coming YouTuber. Hi, buddy. I got a mic here, so what's up? I got some really great prizes here. First of all, I want to thank H2O. I don't know if you've seen my new canoe. It's green plaid. It's beautiful. And the one I paddled last year is right over here. You can see it standing up. If you want to see how many scratches I got on it from that 4K portage, there's quite a few. It's a really strong boat. Keen footwear, Jetboil, OTG Meals. Sulik 46 has provided this awesome titanium saw. And I got a bunch of stuff from Jetboil. Lat Long Maps has provided me this lovely map case from Andy from Barracks, Recreational Barracks. Thanks, Ben. That's why you're here. And a couple OTG meals. And I also have a pair of keys. I'm very sorry, I messed up. I left the certificate at home, but I've written it out on here. Hopefully you can read my writing. You just have to go to the Keen website. I have that, I wrote it in here, and there's a code. You can pick any pair of shoes you want. 50 bucks, 200 bucks, whatever, put the code in, they're yours. If you have any trouble, just send me a message. But just had to mock that up, so sorry about that. And that's about it. So you want to get started, Ben? Okay, you know the drill because we did this in your presentation yesterday. So I'm going to read off a question, and your job is to see who's got their hand up first. So don't put your hand up if you don't know the answer, okay? Let's be fair about this. What's the first one? I'm going to ask it. They can come and pick any, you guys can come and pick any prize you want. So the questions go from harder to easier because, you know, you got to have a hard question to start. Yesterday, nobody could answer the first question, so hopefully they're a little easier today. All right, ready? You got to watch that, not me. Okay. What is a group of loons called?
Asylum.
Go right over here.
Water dance or asylum? Asylum.
Surely, you got to wait until you're called upon, my friend.
I was excited.
Come on up. You got it. Asylum, cry, lookers, craft, or water dance.
Nice.
But you only needed one. Ready, Ben?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, don't shout out the answer like my friend Shirley over here. Just wait until Ben says, you know, the guy in the green or the whatever, okay?
They have to subscribe to me too if they want.
That's not true. But he does have a good channel. He's getting more followers than me somehow. But whatever.
No.
Anyway, what 3 insects did I mention make nests in the ground?
Oh, we got right here.
Wasps, bumblebees, and fire ants. You win a prize. Come on up here. Pick something good. Oh, you went right for the saw. That's a saw from Sulik 46. They are here today. Go see them. They got great lightweight gear. Ready?
I'm ready.
What is the first step I mentioned for cleaning a brook trout?
Right over here.
Lady in the blue.
Yeah.
From the bum to the throat. That's what I said. Come on up. Is that right?
That's right.
You cleaned a lot of brook trout.
Yeah.
I just followed a YouTube video. I don't even know whose it was. It wasn't yours.
No, don't take advice from me.
Okay. What do you see? Okay, you ready? What important lesson did I learn on my 4-kilometer portage after following a little trickle of water?
Saw a hand over here.
Lady with the mask on? Stay on the trail, everybody. Don't get off that trail. You're not smarter than everybody else is. That portage is there for a reason. Okay, I did go to Daisy Lake and there was a portage there and I didn't have to do it. But, okay, anyways, but just stay on the trail. You ready?
Ready.
Let me see. What? Okay. This is a multi-answer. What 2 things did I learn from my footwear issue on my May trip?
Go right over here.
Needle and thread and rope. Come on up. Check your shoes, bring a spare, bring a needle and thread, bring a repair kit. What color? You gotta be fast, this is an easy one. What, you can also take that to, you can go to the booth at the front. They're right at the door. If you need to change the shirt, if you want to get the shirt, they have different sizes up there. Yeah, I get that too. Oh, she's photo op. Photo op. Okay, ready? Am I running out of time? I guess not. They'd be kicking me off the stage. Aw, thank you. What color polka dots did I mention the brook trout I caught?
Oh, right in the back, the plaid.
That plaid. You, right? The guy in the blue? Which one?
Oh, maybe. Oh, I saw over here, but maybe over here.
I didn't.
What's this fist fight?
Brown plaid? Pink! Pink polka dots. Isn't that cute? It's the most prettiest fish I've ever seen. It's delicious too. Let me see, what else we got? Okay. What did I learn about eating blueberries in abundance on the portage?
I saw that pink shirt over here.
Pink shirt. Where? Yes, you. Yell it out. Pace yourself. Blueberries are very fibrous. They go right through you.
Oh yeah.
Nathan, nice to meet you, Nathan. We still got a lot of stuff left. Wow, I got a lot of prizes here. Okay. Oh, one less. No, I don't like that one. Here's an easy one. What year did I do my first backcountry trip in?
Saw a hand up here.
2012? That's not right. Pick another one, Ben. 2015. My first portage trip. No. That was my first solo. You had a date, right? This is the wrong. 2002. Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
That was right.
What do we got left here? Oh, we still got stuff left. What is my favorite brand of freeze-dried meals? I didn't mention this, but you should know.
Over here.
Oh, TG. Oh, he's looking. Ben, trying to hide him. Come on up, cheater. What else? These are questions that you might need to know if you watch my videos. So let's see. What brand of canoe do I paddle?
Oh, that was too quick.
Which the lady?
H2O, yeah.
Was it the guy?
Yeah.
Oh, come on up.
Yeah, come on
H2O. That is a backcountry beginners for course or a winter camping for beginners course. If you know how to do that, then pick another prize and we'll leave that for somebody else. You only get one. What's what? 50 bucks. It's online. It's all online.
Oh, okay.
Winter camping for beginners or backcountry camping for beginners? Just one. Okay, we got a Jetboil water bottle left. Kind of doing a thing here. Why don't you? How do I look? I'm sorry. Okay, what do we got? What brand of shoes do I wear on all my trips?
Blue plaid now.
Blue plaid.
There we go.
Keen, come on up. I gotta wait 1 second to see what this gentleman picks, and we got one prize left. Still got time? Okay, Ben's waiting. It's a backcountry camping for beginners or winter camping for beginners. It's all online. You want that? No? Okay. All right. Got a special. This might not be for everyone. I have two courses online, winter camping for beginners and backcountry camping for beginners. This is good for either. All you do is send me an email. I'll send you a code, and it's all online. So only answer this question if you can use this or you know somebody who can use this, okay? What do we want to ask then? Nothing. I said most. I didn't know I had that many prizes. Oh, here we go. Oh, here. You gotta know me to know this one. What do I use to paddle my canoe? What kind of paddle?
In the back there.
It's not pink, Lila. Pardon? What's she saying? I can't hear. Kayak paddle double blade. Come on up.
That's good.
All right, that's the end of the prizes. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for all your follows and likes and love. I'll be right here if somebody wants to come up and say hello. I've got some stickers. I have to get off the stage because there's another presentation, but come on around the side here and we'll have a chit chat. Thank you so much to everyone who came out to my presentation, and thank you especially to my sponsors and my friends who help me to do the trips that I do and provide me with some awesome gear, and who donated these great prizes for my presentations. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please click the subscribe button. Also click the bell for notifications. If you'd like to get more information on the stuff I use on my trips, please check out my website at CamperChristina.com. Thanks. Bye.